What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rusty Guns. So today I want to talk a little bit about gun values and how much your gun's worth. And one of the things I want to go over in regard to this, number one is it doesn't matter what someone says your gun's worth or what a book says your gun's worth. It all depends on how much somebody's willing to pay for a gun, is how much it's worth. But there's a lot of factors that go into that. Number one thing is going to be condition of the gun. Okay, condition of the firearm is the most important thing. It is what's going to draw the highest value of the gun. So still in its box, or still with the original box, still has all the original finish on it, never been fired. That is something that's going to command the top dollar of whatever the value is. Anything after that, usually we're going to see drop off. Now, one of the other things that will affect a gun value is if it's a particular variation of a model. And what I mean by that is, and I'm going to use two guns as examples today. You have this Smith & Wesson Model 36. Started in 1950, made all the way into the 2000s, so there are literally millions of these guns out there. And there are multiple variations of this gun because it's been around for so long. One of those tiny things can be the grips. Okay, these have checkered grips, some do not. That's a variation because they stopped using checkered grips after a certain point in time. Another one can be this latch. At one point the latch was flat and then they changed it to this type of latch. So all of those things will be factors into how much a gun's worth, because if it's a certain variation that there weren't many produced of, typically that gets a little bit higher value. But it only gets a higher value from collectors. Okay, the average gun guy doesn't really care, but a collector will care, and they're the ones that will drive that price up. So just because you have a certain variation doesn't mean that somebody's going to pay that much, but collectors typically pay a little bit more than, say, somebody who's going to resell a gun, because like this particular gun's only worth about $400 because some of the original finish was gone, it's been used, things like that, and the variation that it is worth about $400. A reseller is not going to pay that for it. They're going to pay about $200 to $250 because they have to resell it and they got to make money. So just the way it is. So I know the person, when they originally bought this, they said they paid about $200 originally for the gun. So it's gone up in value even since that time. But with inflation, maybe not so much. Value still about the same price if you consider inflation. But then you have something like this Glock 17, and you would think, oh well, it's newer company, that's newer models, it's not something from the 1960s, so they probably don't have variations. And you'd be wrong, because this Glock 17 is a Gen 3 because it has these finger grooves right here, but the stippling is from a Gen 4. So this gun would actually be about like a Gen 3.5. Okay, so it's not necessarily a Gen 3, it's not necessarily a Gen 4. It's somewhere in the middle. That's not going to matter to an average gun buyer, but it would matter to somebody who collects Glocks and wants every type of variation of a Glock that they can find. So it just goes to show that different variations can happen even now today with types of guns, and most of the time it just depends on the buyer, how much somebody's willing to pay for something. But gun prices, if you look online, you can see what a gun is selling for. Make sure that you're aware of the variation of the gun. You know, if it's a certain rare type of variation, the type of finish that's on the gun, because 36s like this with a nickel finish command a higher value than the ones with a blued finish. So all those little things are little factors into how much your gun is actually worth. So just make sure that you do the research on a particular gun if you're looking to buy it or sell it, and try to find out all the different types of variations so that you know what you're getting and how much you roughly should be paying for it. or how much you want to pay for it. Because again, it doesn't matter if I say this is worth $1,000. If you're not going to give me $1,000 for it, then it's not worth it. Alright, thanks a lot guys. Take care. I'll see you next time.